Good morning, Joe.
And welcome to December.
Yes, it came in pretty strong last night. Nothing has snowed here, but thankfully it wasn't white, right?
Oh my gosh, we'd still be digging out for sure. Actually, there were I didn't hear of any major problems, flooding, power outages, nothing really, thankfully, here in the city.
Well, I think the crews are going to be going around adjusting the lights because I think some of the connections took a beating last night. I noticed some of the Christmas display lights out that were on the other night, so I'm assuming it had something to do with the wind.
Sure, yeah. Speaking of, I actually took a ride around the Hancock Adams Common on the way in early this morning. It is sparklingly beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, we get a lot of good comments about it, and I think this year is even more important because it's we did that turning on Friday night very low key, but we did a little video, and Mark in my office tells me we've had 20,000 hits and all positive comments. I just think that people need some good diversions right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Get out of the house and stop thinking about the negativity that we're dealing with.
Yeah, I was one of those views. It is a nice little piece for sure. Nice that you were joined by a friendly visitor from the North Pole.
Absolutely.
And a good reminder, too, that Santa's mailbox is out there, right?
That's correct. Right by the front door of the glass building. Right by the railing, it's there, and direct express to the North Pole. So we encourage people to bring their kids up. I've seen a number of kids coming up. It's really, really cute.
That's great, and no postage necessary, right? Santa covers the cost. Can we talk a little bit, Mayor, about some serious business, and that being taxes? I know the City Council will have a public hearing next Monday night on the tax rate for the next fiscal year. Anything you can...
so you go from Santa to the Grinch, huh?
Well, like somebody has to pay for it.
Yeah, sure, Joe. I mean, this year is a real challenging year. When I spoke to the council in the spring about the budget, I told them that we're going to do everything in our power to have a zero increase in the property taxes based on what's going on in the economy. The flip side of that, I did have a caveat there that there's certain factors that we don't completely control, and we're in a perfect storm. I mean, we're down heavily in local receipts. There's a lot of things that have hit that putting us in a difficult position. So I don't think we're going to be able to do it for zero, but I can say that we'll be significantly less than the communities around us. The Braintrees and Miltons and Weymouth all around us will definitely be much lower than that. We're still working the numbers, and we're going to be using some reserves to lower the number. We're doing some mid-year cuts in the budget to lower that number. So we're doing everything we can to finesse it to make it as easy as we possibly can on people, because we know people are struggling this year. But local receipts, building permit fees, all of those things that come in that normally not on the property tax side, but on what we count on local receipts, the meals tax, the hotel tax, all of those things are significantly down. So it does add up. And of course, we were level funded on local aid, which we appreciate, by the way. I'm not complaining. But going into the fiscal year discussions, we were talking about a significant increase in local aid for education and so forth. So you add everything up, and it doesn't add up. So we have some challenges, and so we'll present. My team will present Monday night before the City Council, and hopefully we'll see passage and get the bills out.
Any idea about how much of an increase right now?
I know, because we're just fine tuning it. The package actually gets finalized tomorrow. That's when we put the package together and then with the agenda. Mm-hmm. So I just don't want to. I don't want to put a false number out there.
No, absolutely. The last time we talked about this, the estimate for losses was about $10 million. Is that still kind of where it's sitting?
I think it's more closer to 15 at this
really?
Point. So it's a bit of a challenge.
Any significant program cuts or staff cuts?
No, we're cutting. As I said, we're cutting, going through various departments mid-year and making some cuts to find some money there. We're cutting reserve. We're also, part of this number is, we took over the health insurance for the college this year because they've been struggling.
Yep.
So that's another hit on us. Actually, it's a double hit, Joe, because it would count as a revenue because they would reimburse us, and we're paying the expense. So it's almost like a $4 million hit in 1 year. Now that'll equal out going forward, but So it's just the perfect storm this year on what occurred, and we're doing everything we can to mitigate it, to make sure that it's as reasonable as it possibly can be.
Yeah. Any of that $15 million in loss being subsidized by the CARES Act, the Federal CARES Act, in the future?
Well, we're certainly yes. We've been using the CARES Act to help us with a number of areas. First of all those additional expenses that we have incurred because of it, all the PPEs, the masks, the overtime for even custodians that are cleaning buildings and classrooms far more aggressively than normal. All those things are covered. Police and fire additional overtime that we've incurred because of it. Health department additional. So yes, we are using the COVID monies, the CARES Act COVID monies, to help offset some of those challenges. Now it's widely believed that there will be some kind of a package coming out from the federal government sometime after the first of the year, which could help us going into next year. Because once we set the tax rate, it's too late to help us this year in the fiscal year. But certainly, we're hopeful that will help us going into fiscal 2022.
Right.
So we're watching that closely, of course.
Okay, very good. Stay tuned for that. Mayor, can we talk a little bit about airplane noise? You wouldn't think it's an issue. It's less people flying these days, but I guess there's a plan by Milton to kind of redirect traffic over Quincy.
Yeah, there's always been this obviously difficult issue of the communities that surround Logan Airport, and there's got various runways that go in different directions, and the FAA is involved in this, and we appreciate the cooperation of some of the other communities, but the changes that Milton was looking for would push more air traffic directly over Squantum, North Quincy, and the coastal part of our city. And obviously I can't support that. Generally, what you see lined up at night, if you see the lights coming in, it's essentially they come over the Blue Hills and pick up the expressway and follow into Logan. That's where you see a lot of the traffic coming through. Now I'm in North Quincy, and there's many a day those planes cheat because they're coming right over my house. And you can hear them pretty loudly. And other days you have the little pipe planes because they've changed the setup for the runway for certain days depending on wind and other conditions. So I just felt strongly I couldn't not only support it, I have to oppose this because it would have an adverse effect on the residents of our city here in Quincy. So this has been an issue for decades.
Yep.
This South Boston contingent that worked hard on this, you name it, Milton, Quincy, the Back Bay, the South End, a number of those areas,
I know, was a big,
Boston.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a tough issue. I mean, we're very fortunate for those that travel to be able to be at Logan Airport in 15 to 20 minutes.
Right.
It's right in the city, where parts of the country you've got to drive an hour to get to the airport. It's away from the urban setting. But so it's, come with the blessings, come the curse, and, or the pros come the cons, and one of those is some of the airplane noise. Now, it's interesting because I live a block from Hancock Street, so I hear the traffic, I hear the trains, I hear the planes. If it's too quiet, I can't sleep. So I get used to it. But we got to be vigilant on protecting our interests in the city. So we definitely oppose Milton's initiative.
Yeah, is Congressman Lynch involved in this?
He's been kept apprised of it.
Okay.
His staff definitely stays on top of this as well and try to mitigate these things. And he's a few years ago when they were adopting the new runway, he was very involved in that, trying to again accomplish something that least impacted any direct neighbor, but kind of spread out the wealth, if you will.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance, Mayor, to look at the police reform bill at the State House that appears to be ready to be voted on, and your feelings about that.
I haven't seen the final version, Joe.
Okay.
I mean, I was deeply concerned initially, particularly on the qualified immunity, because then the cities and towns would have naturally had to pick that up, that cost. We weren't going to put men and women in uniform out there and for them to be sued. Who's going to want to be a police officer?
Right.
So, and I do think that people have settled down. I think there was an awful lot of emotion. I think that people were rushing to judgment, rushing to be the first to get a bill passed. I think that's what the negative part of the state Senate did with their bill. They just kind of the Senate president seemed to be in a hurry to be the first. and in the 3 or 4 days, and bills. If you look at the legislative process, it was made to be slow. There was a reason for that, and the main reason was to get it right, to get everybody at the table, to make sure everybody's opinion was listened to, and all the information was gathered to make sure that making the best decision possible. Anytime we rush things, it's not a good thing. So I'm glad the House slowed it down, and I'll be watching certainly the signal of the governor on this as well. But it's interesting. There was a story I heard, because we've got a bunch of guys and ladies in the police academies, and one of the state troopers who was actually, and this is a number of years ago, he was actually in a shootout on a highway. Someone pulled a gun and shot him, and he shot back. It took him 9 years to get cleared from lawsuits from that person. Now, the person shot him first, and he incurred serious injury, and he shot back, and he was waiting for other troopers to arrive, because he could have been killed. And he had to fight with attorneys to clear his estate, actually, because this guy was suing to get everything he could from this officer. So we got to be mindful of that. I know that a lot went on in this country over the last several months on top of the COVID, and there was some egregious issues. But when you look at it day in and day out, particularly in this region, and particularly this city, we don't have those kinds of issues. And I'm not sticking my head in the sand. We don't. We got a very professional department. They handle things well. I'm not saying they're perfect. This ignorance comes in every form and every walk of life. But we don't see those kinds of egregious things happening here in Quincy. So, I felt the pendulum was swinging way too far, that first bill. And when you used to have thousands taking the civil service exam to become a police officer, it's down to hundreds now. And if they had pulled that completely, the immunity issue, it would have been tough to hire police officers. So there's a reality side of it too, And if you look at the stats and the polling done, even in the highly minority communities around the major cities, they want their police. They want that safety. That whole thing about abandoning police and defunding police was insane. So we got to. I'm glad things slowed down. People think things through, and hopefully I'll get a quick look at the final version. But that this is something that is productive, is helpful. There's always room for improvement. I'm not suggesting that's not the case, but that was just way too far initially. So see what happens.
Finally, Mayor, can we find a little bit more about your holiday food drive in association with the Firefighters Union this year?
Yeah, the union reached out and said, "Hey, this is a tough year for a lot of people. Can we be helpful?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So the firehouses are located around the city, so we've got 4 or 5 of them that have identified. We have bins in them for people to drop non-perishables off. And then, of course, whatever we collect, we'll share with our local food pantries. Incidentally, we just sent out the final checks from the COVID money that we raised for the Quincy Foundation.
Oh.
We had given an infusion during the summer to our food pantries. We just sent out checks to all the food pantries, again, cleaning out the rest of all that donated money that people gave to help others, and it all went to the local food pantries. Every one of them got a significant check. So this time of year is a little more difficult for people. So, again, I thank those people that donated to the relief fund that we had this summer, and it's going to good use.
Yep, I know Interfaith is grateful for their $25,000 donation from that fund, so that's right. Incredible. And the drop-off bins are at fire headquarters, also at the Housneck, North Quincy, Squantum, and Wollaston fire stations.
Look at that, you rattled them right off, Joe. I couldn't think of all of them, so good work.
I've got it in front of me, so I have to confess. Thanks for your time, Mayor.
My pleasure. Enjoy the day.
You too.